we're starting. And okay, let me share also my video. So good morning, everybody. We're 11 people right now. Given that this is a workshop, I'm not sure if you're able to, but feel free to ask to share your audio if you'd like to say something. There should be a moderator here in the session. If that's not possible, feel free to leave it in the chat. I'll keep it open at all times. I'll give you a brief introduction, but the main goal today is to get you started, is to make sure that there's something happening on your computer as well. It's a workshop, so we're gonna do this together. So hopefully you're not staying anonymous on the other side of the screen. It's going to be a bit of a challenge to do a workshop format like this, but let's see how this works. Let's give you a very brief summary of what we're going to try to achieve. So what you see here is a concept video, and what we try to achieve is basically personalization on top of Drupal using open source software tools. We have someone going to a website and coming in from an inbound channel, as it's being called in marketing terms. In this case, this is Google. And because you all rock, you have your SEO top-notch, 100%, all okay, and you're the first result in Google. Now, this person browses, and this is actually where we already have a combination of Drupal and the personalization engine, which is Unomi. All the events are actually being captured, and you can also see that there's some analysis happening in the bottom on the left. And in Unomi, we can do segmentations. Depending on how you implement this, this could also have assisted technology like AI to do automatic pattern recognition. But it could also be based on specific actions that someone is taking. Now, in this case, we have already identified the segment as Explorer. And the interesting part now is that this is now also being transferred into Drupal. So this person now leaves an email address. In this case, this is Sophia for the example case. So we know who it is. We're no longer anonymous. We know what the segment is that this person belongs to, sometimes often referred to as persona. And we can see that there's a profile now. So in our customer data platform, which is also the Unomi software, the Apache Unomi software, we have a 360 view of this person, of everything what she clicked on, including what segments she belongs to. So cool, we have this. Now let's see what we can do with that information. So now we are going back to the Drupal website, and maybe you missed it, but in this case, the form on the top on the left wasn't there before. So based on the segment that this person is, the website base changed. And this is all configured in Drupal itself. I'll show you that as well, how that is like. And that's exactly what we're going to do today in this workshop. Okay, so if everyone is still following, perfect. There's a lot more that you can do. You can actually also transfer this segment information into the marketing automation software. In the example that we use, this is also open source, which is called Mautic. Mautic is a marketing automation software distribution. And in that way, because we also have that link between the segment, the interaction of the Drupal website, the customer data platform, and Mautic, the marketing automation, we know that we can send personalized newsletters to that person based on the segments or the interest segments that he or she has. That's the summary of what we try to achieve. Now let's take a look how that looks like in practice. In practice, this is the same example, but then with actual software. The previous one was a concept. This is a Drupal website built on Rocketship, which is also open source. You can try this out yourself locally. This person browses around, perfect. But then we also have connectors in Google Data Studio. Due to the fact that this is an open source customer data platform, the data is stored in Elasticsearch, and it's actually exposable in BI tools. So this is all a lot more open than softwares that are very similar, but where you're basically depending on the vendor to provide you with extra features. And so why we love Drupal is the same why we love Apache Unomi and why we love Mautic as well. Okay, if we go back to the website, after we explored the data a bit, we can see that now there's like a button, a red button. The button wasn't there before. I'll show you how that is configured. And that's also what we will do in the workshop. We can also embed these Mautic forms, the marketing automation forms on the website, as if it's actually a single experience. And then let's see what happens here. If we fill in the information, suddenly we will have our profile also in the marketing automation software, including the segment. Let me fast forward a little bit. So here you see the profile itself in Mautic. This is not what we're going to focus on today for the workshop, as it's a bit limited in time. What we will focus on is the segmentation of Apache Unomi. And for that, we're going to use the Drupal platform. I prepared an account for you. What does the Drupal platform do? It's basically managed services of Apache Unomi. And so it's not that you cannot do this locally yourself. It is a bit easier because it provides you with a user interface. But we could do a Q&A on that later. Just wanted to make sure this is not a product pitch. It is purely what can you do with all these technologies together. Okay, what you saw was a personalized newsletters. What you see here is the Drupal platform. This is where you will interact as well. There are segments that you can create, and this directly goes into Apache Unomi. For those that are a bit lost right now, there's a bunch of other sessions during DrupalCon that explain you the concepts of what is Apache Unomi, what is Mautic, and etc. For the sake of time, I'm not going to stop and explain you that in length. But so far, so good. Is this clear for everybody so far? Please maybe say yes in the chat, or feel free to share your audio already. The next thing that I will do is to give you some concepts on what can you do with all of this, and then we'll dig into the workshop. Okay, so a couple of yeses and clears. Great. Maybe just so that I know, are you able to share your audio if you'd like to, or is that not possible for the audience? Okay, yeah, so whenever you think it's more easy to share your audio, feel free to do so. Don't be afraid. Okay, next up. What can you do with all of this? So you know all the capabilities of Drupal, and it's great to do content management and a bunch more and integrations and whatnot. That doesn't mean that it's the right place to store your user data. So what can you do? You can actually make the marketer, or keep the marketer in control, increase the conversion, do everything that's actually on the task list of the digital marketer of today. So what could this be? This could be personalized newsletters. This could also be lead nurturing. What does that mean? Is that someone comes in and you send them information that is actually more specific to the needs of those person. This is what MailChimp and HubSpot were known for, but you can also do this yourself using open source software and cut down on the licensing cost, but also increase the ability to extend these softwares and above all the freedom to operate and the data. What is also possible, retargeting. This is marketing concepts to make sure that if someone once says I'm interested in this, then maybe there are spaces on your website where you can share relevant information about that product that that could be interesting to that customer. Cross and upsell is more e-commerce terms. That's also possible. But then maybe more for governments and organizations is personalization based on content. If you talk about these personas, it could be that once you detect that someone is a specific persona, or likely, that you change the wordings of a title. For example, on the website of Dropsolid, this is about technical personas, but also business personas. For the technical personas, we will change our website a bit into more technical terms. For the business personas, it will change actually more into business-oriented goals. And you can see it's based on segment, could be based on a one-on-one relationship, based on behavior, or based on users that are logged in, which is the last one is something that already happens in Drupal. The ones above are a bit more complicated to do so. So what is also possible is targeted banners and exit pop-ups, but this goes quite far. It doesn't have to be, but you can also change the menu items or change the search results based on this information of the click behavior of the customer. And this is where it actually gets interesting. Most of the personalization tools are actually more closer to A/B tools. What we can do with Unomi is to add that context into Drupal and then use that in Drupal itself to change what Drupal generates, and with respect to the entire caching journey. And so more about that when we do it ourselves. So what we're going to do is a small workshop. We're going to set up Drupal locally. We're going to connect to Apache Unomi, which I have ready for you with the connection credentials. We're going to create a block on the Umami because we're going to use the Umami profile, the ones that you all know. Create a block and make sure that it's personalized according to someone coming in from a specific campaign. If that sounds complex, no worries. I'm going to guide you through it. Now, just to make this easier, and I know people work on their own pace, there is actually a gist on GitHub here with the installation instructions. Now, what I would ask you to do is either you follow all of these and you go on your own pace and you ask in the chat or share your audio and screen if you get stuck. For all the others that would like to follow how it actually works, I'm also going to demonstrate this on my own computer. Okay. There will be some times where it's being asked for credentials. Please let me know when you get to it, and then I'll share them in the chat. Okay, if I lost anyone so far, please raise your hand or ask a question in the chat now. So first off, what we do is going to set up a Drupal website, and the only requirement that I need from you locally is that you have PHP on your device. So we're not going to work with containers or any of those things. I don't require you to have MySQL, nor even Apache. We only need PHP. So let me show you this and increase the font so you can follow. So I have PHP 7.4 here locally. Let me remove the website that I did as an example. Right. So there we go. What we do is we're going to create a Drupal directory and download the latest and greatest Drupal from Drupal.org. So feel free to follow along or do it yourself using the script. Maybe while this is downloading, can I get a sense of the amount of people that are going to do this themselves using the gist? Great. So that's a couple of people. And then we also have, whether you use DDEV or anything, doesn't matter. This is the simplest one using just pure PHP, but feel free to do it however you'd like it. So now I'm installing the modules itself, or at least adding them to my Drupal installation. And then the easiest command is to start Umami, is this command. and it actually installs it in the CLI. And so you don't have to do anything. It sets it up for you. Everything is happening, and within a couple of moments, we'll have Drupal done. Come on, Drupal. Maybe while we wait, just so you know, your website should be available at 1.7.0.0.1 column 888. We will see that in the setup in a bit. If that's not the case, and basically if Drupal.localhost doesn't resolve to that IP address, you can add that to your host file. You'll see in a bit why that is, because we need somewhat of a domain name to make sure that this works. Okay, almost there. Okay, so Luca's computer is faster than mine. Okay, so once we have that domain name, make sure that you check that this is available locally. And then follow the instructions. We need to uninstall the page cache module. And so here we have it. Let's go to login. Okay. There we go. So we're logged in now, and what we need to do is to disable the page cache module. And I'm going to explain to you a bit why that is. If we look up for caching, we see that there's two modules called internal page cache and internal dynamic page cache. Internal page cache, we have to disable because if we don't disable this, Drupal is never able to give the cache context, the context of a cookie value. This basically functions like a simple reverse proxy or a simple caching mechanism based on the URL. So we're going to uninstall this. You can keep the internal dynamic page cache on. So the only thing that we're going to enable with basically removing that internal page cache module is that we can have variations of the pages based on other properties other than the URL. Okay. So what's next? We installed this, and now we're going to enable the drop solid personalization, which also enables the Unomi module. And let me show you what that is. And so we have two modules here. One of them is the Unomi module, and that's the generic module for enabling integration of Apache Unomi with Drupal. On top of that, there is actually an extension of that module, or like a plugin, as we call it in Drupal, that enables the authentication mechanisms for the managed Unomi that Drop Solid runs. There's nothing different there in terms of API or any of those things. If you would run Unomi locally, it's enough to have only the module in the bottom. Okay, so let's install this. And then next up, we also need the asset injector. This is a bit of a workaround. Usually people use the tag manager or the Google Tag Manager to add snippets or scripts to the website. In this case, because it's a workshop, we're going to use the asset injector to add a snippet to the website. Okay, so injector here. And once we're there, maybe let me know that you're following, that we can more or less keep everyone aligned, or at least people running ahead. That's also fine. But now we have a Drupal up and running, and we have these 3 modules enabled. You can also enable the Mautic paragraph or the Mautic block module, but it's not in scope for this workshop unless we have time left. Okay. I'll wait a little bit until I get some okays in the chat. Okay. If you're still working on it, no worries, follow the gist. Those instructions are also there. If you prefer to have my presentation as a link, let me know, and I can also share that with you so you can actually get into the presentation and follow it step by step. So now we have the module and we have the backend integration of Unomi, as in Drupal can talk to Unomi, and that's great. So we can ask, okay, what segments do we have? We still need to configure it. What doesn't happen yet is that all the interactions that are happening on our website need to be captured by some script that sends it into our customer data platform or into Apache Unomi. So we're going to use the assets injector, the JavaScript injector, to inject a specific piece of code. And the code is also in the gist normally. Yeah, so this is the code that you need. So we're going to copy this personalization, call it Apache Unomi personalization, and we're going to click save. Okay. What's more, we also can actually find this script in the platform itself. So I'll share this link as well here in the chat, and the credentials here in the chat. Let's see what happens if we log in. You can see, and this is more the added value that the Drupal platform gives, but ultimately it's still Apache Unomi behind the scenes, as in a managed Apache Unomi. And you can see that the same script is available here in the interface. Just as a note, Apache Unomi, if you install it locally, it also comes with a specific script. It's going to look a little different, but the concept is the same. This is a bit modified by Drupal itself, but ultimately everything ends up in Apache Unomi. Okay. Everyone still okay? Good to proceed? Given that I cannot hear or see faces, this is a bit complex. Okay. So let's continue, and we insert those scripts without the script tags. Perfect. We have that in our Drupal site. But what's more, we'd like to also have the UTM campaign parameters in our customer data platform, because we think this is interesting information. So there's another snippet that I'd like you to add in the JavaScript injector. And this is this snippet. What does the snippet do? Basically, it looks at the URL, it takes the parameters, and it adds it to the profile of the user that is surfing on your website. Okay. So now we say, okay, add UTM, and we're adding this here, clicking save. Perfect, and that's that. So what we have now is that we have a Drupal website, with Umami. We have the module of Unomi and the assets injector enabled. We connected the front end to Apache Unomi because every interaction that is now happening on the website goes to the Apache Unomi, even for anonymous visitors. And so this is the critical piece. Drupal sites are really good in caching. It's not possible to disable caching and then suddenly do all the personalization in Drupal itself. You need a way to understand, okay, what's my context right now in which I need to show a different variation or a different Drupal page. And that's exactly what this script is able to do by setting the right cookies of the segments. But let's go into step 4. Okay, I understand all of that, you say, but how can I create these segments? And let's connect Unomi with Drupal now, because I don't really know, or Drupal doesn't know where it is. But before we do that, I see a question from Gunther. Yes, so you can convert and connect anonymous visitors to users through cookies. And it's okay to interrupt. It's a workshop. I'm happy to see interaction. I'll show you how that works and how that profile actually is being captured in a bit. And that's exactly what we can do right now by logging in to the platform. First, we're going to create segments. What the ask is here is that you log in, and hopefully you're able to log in and see these segments. Once you are in, you can click on the plus button, and feel free to create your own little segment when you're in there, and you say, okay, inbound of campaign or from campaign of your name. So in this case, this is Nick. Click next. And what we do here is that we want to say, if someone came in from a marketing campaign with the UTM parameters, then I want that person to be in my segment. So I want the UTM campaign, so capture UTM campaign, to be equal to, now let's see, campaign of Nick. This is my segment. Just to give you an overview of what is all possible, there is a bunch more properties that is possible. You can make segments based on the browser version, like other stuff, the touch support, device memory. There's a bunch of items from which you can actually segment people in specific segments. It could also be with assisted technology, but ultimately you configure it yourself. All of this is also for another session, otherwise we're not going to complete our workshop. So I just want to make sure that you follow the entire journey and that you're able to personalize your website with a very simple segment. So, okay, once you have done that, we click save of the segment and it's being created. I see Lucio already has an inbound segment, so hopefully more segments pop up in a bit. But while we're waiting for Unomi to store that information, because it happens in the background, we're going to configure Unomi on our website. And so we've done this. If you're stuck, let me know it. But hopefully I can see some segments popping up on the platform. So next up is connecting our Drupal website with Unomi. So for that, we want to go to the configuration, and Tassos Kutlas, I'll answer your question after we configured the Drupal website. So hang in there for a bit. In the Drupal website, we go to the Unomi module, and here we see an interesting page. Okay, Steven or Stefan, I'm happy to do that for you. Let's see if we can make that work. There, Unomi DDEV site. It's going to finish when those segments are actually deployed, but you can see I added it here for you. So now back to our website. This is a configuration page, and you can see that this has support for Unomis that are locally or at a hosted version of your own, or support for Unomis that are actually managed by the Dropsolid platform. If you do this locally, you can actually fill in the host, the ports, and the paths, etc. Unomi itself only has support for basic authentication. What the Dropsolid platform then allows is a bit easier. We allow OAuth integration and give you that credential. And you can see also why this is a bit more interesting for security reasons later on. But the actual stuff that we need to fill in. So if we go back to our presentation or the gist, for those that are following the gist, the information is actually in the platform itself. And so here in info, all the information that I have in my presentation is also available for you here. Just don't click on generate, please. Okay. Now let's connect our website and we go here. We go to the port, it's 443. Make sure you put the protocol in HTTPS, otherwise the connection will not work. The client secret or the client ID is also here, and the secret. Okay, and then we click save, and if everything goes well, it says connection successfully established. Maybe give me a okay in the chat if you got to this point. Yes, I'll paste the secrets. There you go. And this is the client ID. Okay. So let's see if we have a couple of segments. So I can see 3 people are following along. Is it okay for the other people that are following this workshop that we continue, or do you prefer to wait just a little bit? Because I think we still have a bit of time to do so. Okay, perfect. So we've done this. We connected our Drupal site. I see Lucio also added a message. Oh, connection status successfully established. Perfect. So now we have the backend connection of Drupal to Unomi. Just for, okay, sounds good, Thanasis. So just for, to be very clear, we would like you to clear the caches to make sure that there's nothing that can go wrong. It's not necessary. So you can go into performance and clearing all the caches. Once you've done that, and let me also do that here, the cache clearing. Here in performance, we can clear all caches. We're now able to actually create a block and say this block should only be shown for my segment. How do we do that? We go into structure, we go into the block layouts, and here in the custom block library, I want to add a custom block. I'm going to add a basic block, just a very basic custom block, a title and body, because it's conceptual. We want to give you some very basic demonstration. What we want to do is to add a block about the newsletter that maybe would happen on this Umami website. This Umami website is about recipes. So let's add a funny block about information about our newsletter. If you go further, and if we would have another hour, we could actually also add an actual newsletter subscription form and only show that subscription form for specific segments. In this case, this is purely a textual information block, but the concept is the same. Better. Okay. And okay, you can click save. Now the block is there. You can place it here in the block layout, and for the sake of being easy, we place the block here in the main contents page. Okay, and for those that have this Unomi segment selection, in theory, because also here on my end something went wrong, there should be a list of the Unomi segments, including your own segment. For Lucio, because I think this is the nice part of a workshop, maybe you can share your screen so we can do a small debugging step with you while the rest is actually following the rest of the presentation. Is that okay, Lucio? Let's see where it goes wrong. Let me here also double check my own. Maybe just to ask the audience, I hope nobody clicked here on generate. Ah, Benoit, you are the person that blocked everybody else because we're using a shared account. Obviously, the credentials are also shared. Benoit, if you can share your secret with the rest, otherwise I will need to. Otherwise, I need to regenerate the credential. Okay. So for those that have issues, use the new secret that was pasted in the chat. And now we have connection successfully established again. Okay. So let's go back to our block. Hopefully now I see the list. Yes, there's always that one person needed Benoit. So here in our content, we placed our custom block. In configure, here with Unomi segments, we should see our segments. Okay, so now with the correct secret, we have our segments, and we click our own segments, and we click save block. Okay, if we go to an incognito window, and we do Drupal localhost, whatever your host name is, we should not see our custom block. If we add and we refresh, let me see if this is correct. What did I type here? Home. Maybe I didn't save my my block layout. In any case, apparently it's working for Lucio, which is great. I'm back to site. Umami. So here we see info about our Chile newsletter. If we go in incognito, we should not see we should not see the block. If we put the UTM campaign parameter on the top and we refresh the page, it adds it to our profile and it will set the cookie and then ultimately it will show the block. So here you can see as well, now it shows me the block. If I go to a new incognito window, even though I come in without any context, because this is like the first event, it doesn't really know anything. It doesn't show the block. If we refresh, it shows me the block. Hopefully you're able to reproduce this, because now you have personalization working on your website, if this works for you. Yeah, okay. I'll assume that that works. That was quite exciting that we were able to do so. And so we added a block to our Drupal, and we said, link it to the segment that I created in Apache Unomi. Based on the information coming in as an anonymous user, it actually sets the cookie to that context of that segment. Drupal understands, this is a different variation. I need to show a different cache context. It generates a different homepage. And now every time that person comes back, it will serve that page from cache. This is also compatible with varnish caching, CloudFront, or any other CDN capabilities. Now, there's a bit more that we could do. And there's a browser plugin to simulate how this actually looks like for an end user. So let me show you that. And in the gist, I pasted a link to the Chrome extension, and I'll also paste it here. For those that are able to install a Chrome extension, this Chrome extension allows you to simulate how the website looks like for a specific segment. So you can imagine you build a homepage with different variations for different segments. You don't want to always go into incognito, click a couple of times, and then go to the page and see if the website actually understood what the context was for that specific profile. Now, in order to simulate this, if we install that Chrome extension, we can authorize with the platform. And just to be very transparent, this is not available in the open source version of Apache Unomi. Once we authorize, and you can authorize with the credentials that I gave earlier, which is the nick.vnav.demo with demo DrupalCon as a password, you can see that it detects what Unomi is running on this website. And you can also see all these campaigns from the people that are actually also creating those segments on our platform. Now, if I do inbound segment Lucio, obviously I will not see anything here. If I do inbound from campaign of Nick, it refreshes the page and we see the variation, how it should look like. So in this way, we can really personalize the website, test how these personalizations look like, and then go back and forth in Drupal itself with, okay, this block goes there. This is compatible with paragraphs, with layout builder, with custom blocks. You can add this context into searches or into menu. All the capabilities of Drupal are available for you to personalize it with. There's what I also showed is a Google Data Studio plugin. It's an official extension of Google Data Studio for the managed version of Dropsolid because of the authentication, which is the OAuth authentication. But as said, Apache Unomi works with Elasticsearch in the background. So it's an open database, and it's possible to connect it on your own terms to any kind of BI tool. So, we got there in 45 minutes, including an introduction, and at least 4 people were following along. All those 4 people successfully finished the workshop then, or at least the instructions. And maybe also to ask for the other people here, how was this for you if you were not able to follow? And are there any questions so far? I have some other slides to show, but I wanted to give you the stage as well for any open questions. Yeah, so maybe while you're typing the questions. Yes, so indeed the recording will be available later. I do have to say the credentials will only be valid for until the end of the week, due to security reasons, obviously, and because it's a shared credential. If you'd like to have a playground yourself, email Dropsolid, and I'm happy to see what we can do for you. Okay, so advanced cases. Patika will be active for until the end of the week. As said, if you'd like to have private credentials for maybe a bit longer as a demo purpose, email us and we'll see what we can do for you. Advanced cases. What is also possible, and we didn't really talk about, is geolocalization. And here in the platform itself, it has visualization, but Apache Unomi has actually support for converting an IP address into a lat-long location. And it's fairly accurate, as in it's not just a country. If we can see now, I'm not entirely sure. I think just as an assumption, yeah, just in the last day, let me see, today, maybe I can find a couple of people here. For now, it's just Belgium, but you can see I'm located in Ghent, and it actually has my profile in Ghent. So there's a bunch of localizations, geolocalization you can do, and also in the segment you can say people from a specific country see a specific variation. This is really, really big because in the default Drupal you are not able to do that on an anonymous level. And then maybe to answer some of the questions of Tassos. We indeed run Unomi on an instance per client. We don't run multiple client data in a single Unomi instance. So it's not a shared set. Also because it's quite sensitive data in a way. It's personal data from the customer. And so we prefer not to share those. For the behavior affected from cookie control tools, indeed, if someone doesn't click on consent, the script doesn't run and no personalization will take place. It's even possible to store, if a person actually did a consent, to store that into the profile of the end user to say, okay, at that point in time, this person, even though you don't know the name, agreed on accepting the cookies. If that person then converts into a name, which could be my name, for example, then you know Nick actually agreed on cookies 4 or 5 weeks ago at that period of time for that device. Now, caching in case of geolocation, it's based on the IP and then does the region conversion. Apache Unomi has default support for that. You do need to enable it, and it needs the MaxMind database to be loaded in. It only does it once per profile, as long as your IP doesn't change. So caching is achieved on the side of Apache Unomi itself. Hopefully that answers that question. What is also possible with Apache Unomi is cross-device. What does that mean? Is, as we saw, we came in with the UTM campaign of our segment, and okay, we converted, we have a name on our profile. If I then receive an email and the email has a link to our website, we can link it with the identifier of our marketing automation tool so that Apache Unomi knows, this person on the laptop is actually the same person on the mobile device, and it will give you all the historical segmentation and personalization as it knows about you, because it merges those profiles together. Very, very powerful to do cross-device personalization or cross-channel personalization. Yeah? This is a concept that is highly sought for in digital marketing, but is really hard to achieve. The other advantage that you have is that you own that software, you own that cookie, so you're not relying on Google cookies or Facebook cookies or other third-party tracking cookies to establish that capability. Also, because in a year, the third-party cookie will die. So it's interesting to look at a solution like this in order to place a first-party cookie on your website in order to achieve personalization. So to recap, what we did today is that we added content management with customer data platform. I showed you some concept of marketing automation that you can also add to make it really a mix. And this is what we call an open digital experience platform with Drupal, Mautic, and Apache Unomi. Why would you choose for Dropsolid TXP? It's still open source, but your marketer is in control. You have development freedom. You have a really fast time to market, and also price value. It's actually fit for the ambitious middle market as well. So with that, I'd like to conclude this workshop. And if you have any questions, you can find me at info@dropsolid.com or in this conference for the rest of the week. I'm happy to answer other questions as well in the couple of remaining minutes. So is personalization affected by the new measures introduced by iOS? Not this one, because this is first party. If you agree on allowing the cookies of the website itself, so in this case, the Drupal.localhost, will be placed on the domain of Drupal.localhost. So iOS will see that this is first party and will actually allow that cookie. It would be different if the cookie is placed on the third-party domain, which is happening often in other solutions, and those are actually affected. Great. So I'd like to thank you for this virtual format, doing this workshop with me, and I'm really happy to see that some people were able to successfully complete this workshop. And yeah, let's talk soon. Maybe also there is Drupal Developer Days in April, and let's do this together physically in Ghent at that time. I hope to see you there. Or at another event sooner, somewhere out there in Europe, now that we're soon also able to get together after this entire pandemic. Have a great rest of your day, and bye-bye.